Welcome to That Davis Show. I'm your host, Kenneth Davis. Follow me on all social media platforms at That's Davis, I meant to say. Of course, you know Ryan Bukoveski. Follow him at Ryan B. Ski and Ryan B. Ski1 on Instagram. He's the executive producer of Everything That's Davis and my partner in crime when it comes to these streets and us getting to these dollars. Ryan's in Vegas. I'm in the city of Chicago. We're going to talk about something near and dear to our hearts, and that's the Chicago Bears, who lost yesterday in Tampa Bay 27-17 at Raymond James Stadium. And the realization that a lot of people are coming to that perhaps our quarterback may not be the guy that we hoped he's going to be moving forward. It's still the beginning of the season. I do want to still say that. It's the beginning of the season. I know necessarily it didn't turn into victories, but the offense did turn into victories, but the offense did turn up last year and went on that streak of scoring 30 or more points. So they could perhaps do that again this year, but it's disheartening to see that they didn't learn from that and make adjustments. It's hard to also see that when you look at the front office and some of the pro personnel they brought in and even some of the draft picks haven't necessarily taken the steps that you would hope they would take. The only people, there's more than one, that I would not voice that upon is Darnell Wright, being that he's only played 2 games in the NFL. And of course, the defensive backs that were drafted last year. But you still have Braxton Jones having mental issues. We have Justin Fields not seeing receivers open and only throwing pretty much anticipated to see open throws where he's not anticipating and throwing it to players before they're even breaking out of their routes. They can't run the football, and that was their bread and basket last year. We finally saw them get DJ Moore involved in yesterday's game. DJ Moore had 7 targets, 6 receptions for 104 yards, the longest being 33. Cole Kmet had 8 targets, 4 receptions, and Chase Claypool had 8 targets, 3 receptions, and a touchdown. And they also had a stern talking to. Ryan Poles revealed on the Bears home network here in Chicago that he had a talk with Chase Claypool about his attitude and his actions on the field, and how hard he's out there busting his ass or not busting his said ass. It's just disheartening. I'm sure some of you probably heard some of my comments on the Under Center podcast on NBC Sports here in Chicago. Let's start off with Justin Fields. Ryan, how do you feel about Justin Fields?
Boy, I think I'm kind of there. I'm giving him this full season, I guess, to give that light switch, the light bulb moment. But man, this is feeling like Mitch. This is feeling like everybody else. There's a lot of talent there, and overall, we talked about it multiple times. Like, there's a lot to like with his game and his skill set. I think where I'm at right now and where my most concern is sort of, if I could blanket statement, understanding of the game, where, if you could almost like umbrella and then underneath that bullet point type thing, not seeing receivers and ripping it. What is that? Is that a trust issue? Is that a not knowing the playbook issue? Is that a mechanics issue? Is that a, hey, we see it as this guy is wide open, but his eye shouldn't be there type thing. But then that kind of gives another sub point of, is he able to make some of those off script plays that we thought were really an essential part of his bag, but is that only capable with his legs, not so much with his arm? Knowing when to maybe push that ball. Like, maybe a guy's not open, but if DJ Moore has that one-on-one, understanding definitely the point of the game, maybe there's certain times where that quarterback saying you can't go getting a profit. I like the check down Charlie and some of that stuff, but you can't live off that. You can't do 20 play drives for 80 yards consistently over and over. And we saw in like that first drive, getting that big play to DJ Moore set up the ability to get that touchdown. And then that kind of raises up the Mitch thing to me a little bit, where, a lot of times Mitch would be very good that first drive because it was all scripted, and then it would just go to hell after the script's done, basically. basically. And it feels like we're seeing a lot of that with Justin Fields. And it's more of just like he's got the arm talent. He's got the accuracy, I think, overall. Maybe not the most accurate, but he has it. He has this, great ability to move around in the pocket and get open. And he made a great running throw to Cole Kmet where it got knocked away by Antoine Winfield. And that was kind of unfortunate, but it just felt like almost like an attitude thing, like, pull that sucker in. What are you posing that ball out there? But that's probably me more so nitpicking than anything. And just, just great timing by Antoine Winfield Jr. But it doesn't seem like he's getting a lot of help from the play calling, from his offensive line. But then you look at some of these sacks that are taken, and that goes again to that understanding. You can't be taking sacks. You got to get rid of the ball. Like, end of day, that's what we talk about, where quarterbacks get a lot of love for what they do and probably more love than they deserve, but they also get more blame than they deserve when things don't go right. And it's ultimately, you got the ball in your hand, you have to make the decision. And if you got 5 seconds, a guy's open and you don't rip it, and then you take a sack, I mean, these are drive killers. And we're back to like this inability to really score points. And the other thing that's just like, it's 27 career starts for him. I know, like, so far this year, he's on his best pace to throw passing yards wise, because I think last year he only had 2 games with over 200 yards passing, and he's tied that at least this year. But that's what's got me also concerned. And I know part of that has been weapons and play calling and offensive line, but you just don't see him ever rack up passing yards. Ever. It's always like high 100s or low 200s. And you can't live off of that in this league. And I'm kind of at this point where, unless they dramatically shift things, and I don't even know exactly how that is. Like, I think that's part of play calling, but it's also on Justin Fields. Unless he dramatically kind of shifts how he plays, I think you're just kind of looking at another guy that's just not the guy.
Yeah. I would like to be like, no, you're wrong and get the hell out of here. But those questions of doubt have now crept in. I said on Under Center that, if I was being honest, they kind of crept in my mind in the preseason with the lack of play. I feel like there is a reason.
When you had Josh Schrock talking about it, or any of these analysts that are like, yeah, like, he looks better, but I'm not really seeing the magic in these training camp practices. And I remember, and I'm not some expert or great scout or analyst or anything, but I remember 2019, was it, right? That huge flop after the playoff with Mitch in that game 1 against Green Bay, where he was really the pocket passer. I remember going to some of those training camps and being like, man, this is just practice, but this don't look right. Like, this doesn't look like a guy ripping it. This doesn't look like a guy taking the next step. And hearing those reports this summer definitely had my radar, just like the spidey senses tingling. Then you kind of don't see anything at all in preseason, and what you do see didn't look that great. And, he's had a few drives where it's looked fine, but that's been his career. Few drives look fine every game, but not really this consistency that you can rely on.
Yeah, and always using the example of, look at Jalen Hurts and look at Josh Allen. Everyone isn't going to be Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, and I don't think it's from lack of work, but it may be a lack of detail. And it's not that he doesn't try, it may be that he doesn't know. I mentioned this to you prior to the show. You look at that play when Roschon Johnson was open up the seam, and does he know fully that play when where everyone is supposed to be, and when those defensive backs move a certain way, who will be open? I wonder. I'm not saying that he doesn't. I don't know. I'm just wondering this. I'm pondering this. But still, he should be able to deliver that ball. There's too many times. There was a time where DJ Moore was open going towards the sideline. There are too many issues when it comes to wide receivers being open. But I'll say this. Some of it still is on Luke Getsy. I say put the ball in his hands and let him throw it in the air. And if he turns the ball over several times a game, so be it. At least we'll know who and what he is. For real. Like, let's find out who this kid is, this young man, I mean to say, who this young man is, if he can get back to some of the things he was doing at Ohio State. And also, I don't know if this offense is, again, this is Justin. I'm not scapegoating Luke Getsy. This now is on Justin, but the offensive line is trash. But we've seen quarterbacks with bad offensive lines play well. That still could be asking a lot of him because he may not be as good as those quarterbacks. He may not be a Joe Burrow or a young Aaron Rodgers who had questionable offensive lines, but still, got it done. But still, there's too many questions to be asked. And look, the hope is shrinking when it comes to perhaps the Bears finally found a guy to be under center for the next decade. But let's still try to find out. It's the beginning of the year. He's only been in this system a season and 2 games, and Luke Getsy's still learning on the job too, as well as the head coach and Matt Eberflus. So, and then you're not helping them with the offensive line that's O-line a ton. Justin's taking stupid sacks. Now that I'm not putting all of that on the offensive line. He's holding on to the ball at times. He should clearly just get rid of the damn ball. This offensive line. I saw Mac Jones last night throw the ball into the stands while still in the pocket, but the receiver was in that direction. And it was such a heady and smart play. It wasn't one of these regular just throw the balls. He hurled it, but the quickness that he did, which he did it, and knowing the play was dead. Like the play's dead. You can't win every play, but also, I said this on the Senate, spread everybody out. Spread everybody. There's going to be 4 receivers in that game or 3 receivers in Cole Kmet. Open it up so, one, he has more space to move with his legs. Because, we need to see what this total package is. All right? Is he just a running quarterback who can throw some, or is he a guy that can throw and he's a great runner also? But we need to see it, and we're not going to see it. We have to now come up with ways to offset the bad offensive line play. The offensive line may get better. These guys haven't spent time together. Tevin Jenkins isn't there. Downell Wright's a rookie. I always say I like the character of Braxton Jones. My issue isn't with Braxton Jones. My issue was with Ryan Poles giving him a job instead of Braxton Jones having to compete for his job. But also just from the pedigree where he comes from, you're asking a lot out of Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones may have been a 2.5-year project that you forced to go right ahead, right away. You know what I'm saying? Where you still could have found a veteran tackle to come in there and let these kids take the job for him, and then let that veteran be the swing guy. As long as you're open and honest and being honest when it's time for that veteran to step back. It's just a lot. It's concerning across the board. The defense can't stop the run. I don't know why some defensive linemen, we were talking about this on us yesterday. The rhyme or reason about who the personnel is on the down lineman sometimes makes no sense. There's not enough Andrew Billings. I thought he was here to stop the run. You're getting ran on. All right. Edmonds had a good game yesterday. I can't even talk about the DB. Listen, they're doing what they're supposed to do when it comes to Tyreek Stevenson. All right. A lot of the passes that were completed to Godwin and to Evans, he was the defender on them. That's what you're supposed to do with a rookie. Hopefully it's trial by fire and he grows from this. We saw the leaps that Kyler Gordon, unfortunately injured, took from last year from going through the same trial and error. But we see what Tyreek Stevenson can do. But this is going to happen. It's more of the same, and it's more talent. The tab is a lot higher. Like, that's the thing too. You went grocery shopping and the meal is still trash. Like, this don't taste like millions and millions of dollars that was spent. You know what I'm saying? I could have went over here to the Greasy Spoon and got something more delectable than this. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I mean. Like, and then that goes to the question of Ryan Poles is learning. Like Ryan Poles has made mistakes. Now it's clear Ryan Poles has made mistakes, and everyone's learning on the job, except for Kevin Warren, for the most part. And I hope he's really looking. You know what I'm saying? Because you, at some point, sir, may have to make some changes to get this going in the proper direction. And I'm rooting for Ryan Poles. I'm rooting for Matt Eberflus. But there's a difference when, and this was brought up by my guys in Alex and Josh yesterday, that locker room with as much money has been spent is not the same as a bunch of young players and try-hard veterans trying to get film on them so they can get a job next year that didn't quit last season. All right? You got guys now that, one, they got bread in their pocket, but two, it's like, why am this doesn't even make sense to be going out here and risking my life and limb when you guys don't even know what the hell you're doing. Like, that's like, if I'm a veteran, I'm feeling like that, because why can't we get our head out of our backside? Because we can't. Like, you're supposed to that was all what last year was about, the adjustments they were making. You finally saw yesterday at halftime, coaching the defense, Matt Eberflus made adjustments. The offensive Tampa Bay weren't converting third downs as easily as what they were in the first half. All right? That's the only adjustment. I see no adjustments on offense. And then this is something that you brought up, which is real concerning. And this goes to the Luke Getsy thing. You brought up the scripted plays from Mitchell Trubisky, right? And now we know that Matt Nagy didn't have one. Okay, Mitchell Trubisky wasn't his quarterback, but he couldn't adapt for a game plan for Mitchell Trubisky. But even if he could, I don't know if he could adapt after that once everybody knew what else Mitch was doing. I don't know if Nagy was that innovative. And I were into the same thing with Luke Getsy, where it's like, did you come with what was the next level? Now, maybe it's hard with the offensive line and with the quarterback play, but still, like, your design runs are trash. Like, they haven't had a design run work yet.
Right.
Your design runs are trash.
Where's that RPO?
Right. But same with that, that's again, he could call it, but that falls on Justin when to know when to hold it and when to let the ball go. But and I'm not even the biggest design run guy, but when you got a guy that's clearly at this point still, until, like I always say, Anthony Richardson takes the title, is the best running quarterback in football, dog, he should be averaging 60 yards a game. All right, that's just on I'm scrambling for my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know defenses now are better at setting the edge and staying home to perhaps now allow the same lanes that they were allowing last year. But still, you know what gift your quarterback has. You need to accentuate them. Where's the consistent vertical? Where the hell is Tyler Scott at, and why did we draft him? All right, why isn't Khalil Herbert getting the ball in space? Why? He's a running back. That's cool. You should have plays with two running backs out there, and Khalil Herbert's gonna go split out. Just get him in space. The same with I don't need to see Velus do end arounds. Put Velus in space and let them see what he can do after he gets the ball, if he can make a man miss, and if he can take a ball to the house. Like this is, and I'm no coach, but some of these things are simple, or at least they seem simple to I. But it's frustrating because this season had a lot of hope attached to it.
Well,
go ahead.
I think you're hitting on a lot of important parts. Like, the name that kept coming to me all day yesterday was Kevin Warren. Kevin Warren, because there's a lot of inexplainable things going on here. And, like, I'm going to be, if this season continues the course that it's going, that's the guy I'm looking at super hard. Because you're right. Ryan Poles made mistakes. I like the point you brought up with Braxton Jones. Like, they're acting like he's a first-round pick, that they got to give him every opportunity to be the starter type thing. It's like some of those little mistakes that you point out. And then on top of it, when you're talking about like that play calling, the verticality thing is driving me nuts, because you're starting to see the Mitch defense on Justin. Take away all the running lanes, cover the flats, cover the underneaths, cover that short zone, and try to beat us over the top, because you can't do it. And that's what teams are daring Justin Fields to do. He's not seeing it. He's not reading it. Like, you hear like Coach Wanstead talk about it on any of the number of platforms. He would be, as a head coach, like, hey, I don't give a damn if we throw this thing out of bounds. I want a ball 50 yards downfield right now this half, and we're going to do it next half because we want those safeties or whoever on the back end to be worried about that. You've got to do that. It doesn't even matter if you complete the pass. You need to do that, and you have plenty of weapons to do that with. And then you talk about, like, in the pocket, like, why aren't we moving Justin Fields more? Why aren't we doing more of the things that we know he's comfortable doing and that he's successful at doing in this previous season under Luke Getsy? Some of this stuff just makes no sense, and it's just like this organizational, like you said, everything's starting to feel the same as we've seen it a million times. What's the answer to that? Because I'm totally concerned with Ryan Poles. You're looking at all that big money he spent. None of it's producing any big time plays. You look at all the like draft picks he's made. There's not anybody that you look at as a blue chip player really anywhere other than maybe DJ Moore. You traded for him. That's how you got DJ Moore in the building. Maybe Tremaine Edmonds is a blue chip linebacker, but you're just maybe because of defensive line, you're not seeing him make any type of big time plays. He's just being a tackling machine. And you even brought up that point with the third downs with the adjustments. Baker Mayfield and that offense got 430 yards on your ass. And I get it. There's injuries and you only can do so much with personnel, but you're making bad guys look like superstars. And we've seen that crap again. But on top of that, how many of those third downs were they able to convert because of a penalty or something negative happening to the Bucs, where if they didn't do that, they probably put more points on your ass than what they did yesterday. And they should have put on more points than what they did. Some mishaps with like the blocked field goal and some of those things really saved the Bears from this thing even getting much worse. And then you talk about like even in space with Khalil Herbert. Now we know all these screen passes are coming. Like they're talking about Levante Davis is saying how like, hey, we knew it was coming. We knew that they were going to throw out these screen passes. That's how Shaq Barrett knew that was coming down just by the look, just by the same formation. It's just like we're playing dumb football all over again. This is going back to the Dean Davis show. Play smart football, just regular, logical, basic, fundamental football. We're not doing that anymore. Just all these silly penalties that we see, the lackluster effort with some guys. And you just see it with Jaquan Brisker missing that interception. Jalen Johnson punches it out, but they can't recover the ball. Like, they're so close, but yet so far away on so much. And that's the mark of a bad team. That's what a bad team looks like in the NFL. And at this point, you're just like, I know they can make some adjustments and do things better. And maybe this thing could, like, there's still time for, I guess, Fields to have the light bulb turn on. And I think that's what he really needs is like a confidence boost. But, man, it just seems like nothing is in sync. And that falls on the GM and the front office making stuff be in sync. Like, how can you allow Luke Getsy to just kind of turn into Matt Nagy with Mitch Trubisky and be like, you're just a pocket passer. That's all we're doing now. Like, I'm sorry. That's not the skill set. Maybe that's the goal. But we can't get there from 0 to 100 immediately if the guy just flat out can't do it. And you had all training camp and all preseason to evaluate that. Like, if I'm Kevin Warren, there's a lot of stuff that Ryan Poles can tell me. I almost said Ryan Pace because it's starting to feel the same. There's a lot of things Ryan Poles can tell me where it's like, okay, that's a logical excuse. But that doesn't explain this process, this result because of this bad process. It's that saying, like, process over product. The processes are really wrong right now in House Hall in a way that we all have seen multiple times before. And I'm just really starting to wonder, where the accountability aspect comes into this. Because, like, even Matt Eberflus, like, man, I'm assuming you saw that stat. They've lost 12 straight games, given up 25 points or that's like the first time in NFL that's ever happened. What is the point of having a defensive coach? What is the app? Like, everyone says you don't need an offensive guy. I looked at that Rams 49ers game afterwards, after the Bears game, and the Rams have nobody. It is a bunch of 1 and 2 years. You have Matt Stafford, but there's no Cooper Kupp. And that defense, yeah, they have Aaron Donald, but it's everybody else's rookies and 1-year deals while they're kind of like reloading or rebuilding. And you just see so much more competency from the game planning, from the methodology, from like the plays that are being called. And Of course, Matt Stafford, he's a good quarterback, so maybe some of this stuff, like if you have Justin Fields playing a good quarterback, it looked different, of course. But I'm just really skeptical of what this coaching staff is putting together and how they're evaluating guys. Because, like you said, guys are out of position all the time. And especially when that's happening on defense and your head coach is a defensive guy, there's just no excuse for that. I mean, how many 3rd and longs did they give up? Like, that is where you make your money as a defensive coordinator, as the defensive guru. It just feels like we got a Matt Nagy on the defensive side right now, where there's a lot of like no answering of the whys. We need to figure out the whys, but we don't know why the whys are whying. And you're supposed to be the defensive like guru. You're supposed to be the guy that understands and can work with less. And it's, again, just like we need more. It comes down to needing better players. Where's the development? Where's the planning and strategizing? Like, if you're going to have a good secondary and good linebacking core, it's not going to matter if your defensive line sucks.
Right.
You know, Yannick Ngakoue, how are you missing that sack on Baker Mayfield? It's like some of these things, and of course on an individual vacuum play, stuff is going to happen. Guys are going to not make that play. But when you have so many or so few opportunities to really make an impact on a game, and it comes down to 2 or 3 plays because you don't have enough talent to make other plays greater, I mean, you're going to have to answer for that. Like, you don't get a pass because, oh, we don't have quite the pass rush we wanted. What did you do to fix the pass rush? Really nothing.
I agree. I mean, you didn't. And I'll still harp on the fact that you should have taken Jalen Carter, because that would have been a jailbreak. It would have made this defense so much better. And I get that you didn't have the locker room, but that's why you got coaches. You know, that's why you have staff and people to be with them. That's why you pay somebody. You know what I'm saying? I'll say this.
Free agents on top of it. Besides your coaching staff and besides that, you can bring in free agents that are leaders.
You can bring in veteran leaders that you think can maybe get to them. Because you needed a dog. You needed somebody to break the house down and break into it and blow it up. And you don't have that. I'll say this. They need to find out. And I don't know how, because right now their guard play is suspect. I could just say the whole offensive line is suspect. They're going to have to hope Tevin Jenkins can come back fast. Whatever Nate Davis is going through, hopefully, and I'm not trying to rush him with losing a family member or anything like that, but we know he's not necessarily a passing guard as far as having a high passer or pass protection. But in run pro, they got to get back to running the ball, because that's the only way you start to get to remedy some of what happened last year and what you did well and what helped you to kind of exploit what Justin can do well. You know, once you had the threat of, okay, we have this two-headed horse when it comes to these running backs, but then we have this quarterback who can run also. That had a lot of defenses shaking in their boots. And you got to get this one, because then you can get the play action really works and you can start going vertical. But you have to get this line to gel and get back to running the damn football. You have to run just for time of possession. There's too many 3 and outs. Your defense is out there too damn long. Yep. And it was humid and hot as you know what. And
you're back to anything like 3rd and 7 or more. It's like an automatic punt at this point.
True. And the worst part, on the flip side, when it's on defense, you damn near feel like they're always gonna get it.
Yeah.
All right. Don't let it be like 3rd and 4, because they can run it and get it. Like, that's when it's bad. When it's 3rd and 4, and like, dude, they can get this just by running the ball, because we're not stopping anybody. We're not bringing you down at least till you get 6 yards, 7 yards. Like that's an issue. And like that, and the biggest thing here, this is one thing you said: fundamental football. Run the football, stop the run. Fundamental football.
On 3rd down.
Yeah, you got to earn going after the quarterback. You all not earning it. You got to earn it, because you put them in situations where it clearly is passing downs, and let's go get them. All right, and then I hate to say it, you have to bring some heat, because you guys aren't doing it with 4 guys. So occasionally you got to bring a little spice. but you guys,
And
it's got to
really
be
quick, to
timely.
your point right there, one thing that's driving me nuts is some of these like, oh, we don't do that in this defense or we don't do that in this offense type thing. Like, listen, you got a game that's like coming down to like Baker Mayfield's shredding your ass with Mike Evans. Like, I want to see Jalen Johnson following him all game long. Make somebody else beat you at that point. Like, I don't want to see Tyreek Stevenson having to cover him on a 3rd and 16 and it's a one-on-one. Of course, if you're Baker Mayfield, you're going to take that. You're going to try for that unless another guy's completely wide open. Like, it's some of these little things where it's like, listen, fam, we don't have time for you to run your ideal schemes and your ideal play calling and your ideal whatever. You got to win this game. And that's exactly to your point. Where are the adjustments? Where is and it feels right back to Matt Nagy where it's like, no, we do our thing and we'll win. We just got to do our thing better. No. Your thing sucks to begin with. You're not doing that thing because you know why you're not doing that thing? You don't have a 3 technique because you didn't want Jalen Carter. You got Justin Jones. So you're not going to get that pass rush up the middle like you need ideally in this Tampa 2. So how are you going to adjust? How are you going? Because you're already at the point of starting. How does our defense work? We have a 3 technique that disrupts the pocket. Okay, we don't have that. So what do we do now? And it's the same thing with offense. Okay, we want to be able to throw the ball downfield, but we can't have an offensive line block long enough to get it downfield. Or our quarterback is not able to read it. Okay, you bring in either extra protections, you roll the pocket, you say you're throwing it to DJ Moore, and if it's not there, you run. Like, you got to make some changes that make sense, even if it's not ideal. But it's craziness. Like, they're just, we got to do our thing better. You're not going to do your thing better because you don't have the players to do it, and your scheme might kind of suck.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, I'll end it with this. Last year, because you triggered something in my mind. I think about the Colts when Matty Eberflus was the defensive coordinator of the Colts. And they didn't necessarily have premium edge rushers, but they made a trade for DeForest Buckner, right? And you went out, Ryan Poles, and you brought in Larry Ogunjobi. Larry Ogunjobi was injured. He hasn't been the player with Pittsburgh or wherever he is now that after people expected him. So I'm not saying that you should have signed him. I think that was a smart move. It was late. Free agency had already went as far as players that went off the market. Basically, you brought in Justin Jones. That was last year. I understand, and you were tearing it down. But in knowing that for Matt Eberflus to have his defense, from what we've seen when he was a defensive coordinator running a defense, for his defense to operate at a premium level, he needs a 3 technique. And what you tried to do this year was draft it, which neither one of the players you drafted were jailbreakers to the point where other teams were like, yo, we got to get this dude because we know that, you know what I'm saying, he's demolishing the offensive line and he's in the backfield. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's so quick, it doesn't even make any sense. For instance, talking about Tampa Bay, and I'm not saying they should have done this, but Kalijah Kancey. Now, for them, and this is the problem too, you guys are RAS guys and numbers guys, and this is football. Everybody can't be a top RAS guy. And then on top of that, you got to have people that can develop it. If you're going to go all traits, you got to have the best developing staff, period. But back to the point that I was making about the 3 technique, you still didn't fix it this year. And again, I can say you should have gotten Jalen Carter. You should have done something. All right, because you knew that for this defense to work with Matt Eberflus, as far as how he's used to it working, the 3 technique is the key. Now, Tony Dungy, and he said this when talking to us, he didn't really have a 3 technique in Indy. He just had Mathis and Freeney. You know what I'm saying? So there's more than, and we're talking about Tampa too, there's more than one way to skin a cat, but either way, you didn't upgrade. You brought in at the last minute Yannick Ngakoue and still don't have anybody on the side because DeMarcus Walker isn't the answer. So, like,
and really quick with Ngakoue, you could have signed him months before that. I don't care if he wanted a few extra million. that would have been worth it to get him in camp and working with this group. Expecting him the last week of the season, the preseason and training camp, to start gearing up, like, that's part of the issue. Like, everything is trying to be done so by the book, like to your point with traits. We don't spend too much. Okay, that's everything that you're talking about works on paper, not in reality.
Right. I'm with you. Look, we'll be back next week to talk about the Bears, Kansas City. Oh man, I'm laughing because it hurts.
Are we back for another 3-win season? Is this another number 1 pick overall? Are we getting the top 2 picks in the draft?
Crazy, which would be great. Get your quarterback in, Marvin Harrison. Look, I didn't even want a receiver. I was just like, yo, I'll do the Harrison Jr. now. I was like, forget it. I'm all in. I'm like, dude,
especially when you got to get rid of Chase Claypool.
Dude, yeah. Yes, see.
And
but
then
yeah,
on top
we'll be
of
back.
It, Darnell Mooney, is he even alive anymore? Is there anything with Darnell Mooney? And he's about to be a free agent.
But you know what? We can't judge him though, because the offense. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't judge Darnell Mooney. It's like, look, with Matt Nagy, Darnell Mooney was doing his thing. You talked about Nagy all you wanted to, but under this coaching staff, I don't know. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not blaming Darnell Mooney.
To go with that line of thinking, think about that. So let's say Mooney does like nothing all year long, and coaching staff doesn't use him. So then what? He's a free agent. He's going to ask for top dollar. You're going to say no because you didn't do anything on the field, but yet you weren't given the opportunity. So see you later. And now that's a new position we got to redo. Just like we've been doing before, redoing. Like,
I wish
it's perpetual rebuilding.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I wish Darnell Mooney busts his backside when it comes to working. I wish him the best. If it's not here, go somewhere where there's a great offense where people can know your name and get your numbers up. Hey, you're playing an opponent next week, this upcoming week. They always need receivers in KC. All right, go do a year in KC and get your numbers up and go get paid down there, Mooney.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's I can't. I'm tired. Dog, I shouldn't be rooting again for a number 1 pick.
I know. I'm already in draft mode. It's week 2 of year 3 rebuild.
Well, it's
I'm sorry. Year 2. Year 2. I'm sorry. Year 2 of rebuild.
But yeah, so that's it. We'll be back with hopefully with less despair and more happiness. Look, even if they lose, and I hate to say that, if they come out and they show us the ability to have an efficient offense, a functioning offense, and a functioning defense, and it's starting to matriculate in a fashion that, okay, maybe we got something here. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still early. Like, so even 0-3, it's still early. They can start off 0-3 and then go. They start off 0-3. Let's see, and then go what 4-2. So then they're 4-5. Yeah, 4-5. That's 9 games, and then they still have 8 games left. You know, so we'll see. I mean, it's early. That's what I keep having to.
Good things is like we've seen it in the past with Bears teams. Like, remember that 0-3 team with Mike Brown, Brian Urlacher, and like the 13-3 record type thing. We kind of all knew that was smoke and mirrors, even though the defense it was good for sure, but we knew they weren't really like a 13-3 team. And some of those Brian Urlacher, Charles Tillman, Lance Briggs years where it was like, yeah, this team's competitive, but it's really because they were making all kinds of Hall of Fame type plays and bringing that consistency week in and week out. And Lovey didn't get enough credit as a head coach overall either, in at least bringing that consistency and being able to like field a team that's more competitive week in and week out than not. I think the proof is in the pudding with this record. Like, we're going to see it. If they go 4-2 in a stretch, That's because a lot of guys are playing a lot better. They're not going to fluke their way to a 4-2 or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to see if this record is like 0-6, 0-7 to start. You know why. You don't have any good players, and you don't have a good coaching staff.
Look, maybe these rookies will step up. It's early. They didn't play in the preseason. So perhaps Pickens and Dexter improve as well as Darnell Wright. And if they can make if they can help,
like an ascension of some kind.
If Tevin Jenkins gets healthy, and then you only have one question or a question and a half on your offensive line, it's still early. So I know.
Just a little side note. What kind of fucking ridiculousness are we talking about? Like, this is so Bears. We're relying on Tevin Jenkins to come out, and they try to trade his ass. They didn't even want his ass.
Yeah. Well, some of that may have been with him with some maturity issues. I'm a Tevin Jenkins guy.
Like, that's just like so Bears right there. Hey, we need this guy to come back. We didn't want it all. We wanted to get rid of it.
But Chase Claypool can do whatever the hell he wants to do.
Right. Yeah, give up that second round here. Who cares?
Yeah, first pick in the second round. All right. Thank you for checking us out today. We always appreciate you taking the time. Please subscribe, like, mention us. We will be more consistent. Always appreciate you.